You would think that installing Windows 98 from a USB optical drive is pretty straightforward, but it's not. You see, Windows 98 is built on MS-DOS, and the installer also runs on MS-DOS, and MS-DOS does not support USB optical drives. The reason I'm doing this video is because I've done 2 videos showing you how you can install Windows 98 with a USB thumb drive, but I keep getting comments to this day that this method doesn't work for all of you, and it is because older machines do struggle with booting from USB thumb drives. And I believe BIOS compatibility in terms of booting is better with USB optical drives compared to USB thumb drives. Now, if you have a computer with an internal optical drive, then of course this doesn't really apply to you, but optical drives are getting a little bit harder to find. You can still buy modern SATA drives, but especially ID drives, which are more compatible with older machines, are harder to find these days. And with SATA drives, the SATA controllers on the main boards, many of them are very flaky, and some of them, like from VIA chipsets, don't support booting off a optical drive connected to SATA. Full disclosure, Orico sent me 2 of their USB optical drives free of charge with no strings attached. There's no contract, I'm not getting paid, there's no script, and you are the only ones seeing this video before anyone else. And as always, I give you my opinion, the good and the bad. Now back to the Windows 98 installation. There are a couple of roadblocks, but I found a few workarounds. The first issue is, although the Windows 98 installation disk is bootable, it actually has a boot floppy image attached. The format command is not included in that floppy image. That means when you're booting off the disk, you can partition your hard drive, but you cannot format it. The format command is on the disk, and you need access to the CD-ROM drive. And unfortunately, under MS-DOS, there is no way to access a USB optical drive. So the workaround is pretty easy and also works for MS-DOS. So you can grab boot floppies for MS-DOS 6.22 as well as MS-DOS 7.1 and burn them to disk, but don't burn them just like an image file and then burning it straight like that. You need to use special software. I'm using the Infra Recorder, and you go into the options, and there you can configure to make the CD bootable by including a floppy image. I will make both of these floppy images available for download. Check the description down below. And then we simply boot from this disk. Make sure you go into the BIOS, change the boot order to boot from the USB optical drive, and off we go. Once you've booted from the disk, you can run fdisk to partition the drive however you want it, one large partition or several small ones, it's up to you. Reboot the machine, and then you can use the format command to format your partition. To make it bootable, run format/s and then reboot the machine, and you should get a prompt telling you that the hard drive is now formatted and you can boot from it. And that is pretty much the hardest part. Now you have a couple of options. A popular option is removing the hard drive from your retro PC. Maybe it's an SD card, maybe it's a compact flash card, maybe it's a SSD or even a ID hard drive, and then using a USB adapter to plug it into a modern PC. Then you copy the Windows installation files across, the drivers, the games, and so on. So that's one method. Another method is booting Linux Live. This is Knoppix 7.2. It runs directly off the disk. You don't need to install it. And then you also need a USB thumb drive with the Windows setup files, as well as a USB storage driver. And I'm showing you in the video how I'm copying these files onto the retro PC. And then you're good to go. Eject the disk, restart the machine, run setup from your retro PC. And after Windows 98 has installed, run the USB storage driver, and now you can plug in a USB thumb drive and copy your drivers, games, benchmarks, and whatnot. Now, some quick feedback on the optical drive. It worked really well for me. What I like about this one is, although it comes with 2 separate cables, one is for additional power, it actually works with a single USB connector. That is quite different to some other optical drives which need two. I also like that it's got a USB 3 hub on there, so I actually use that one in Linux to plug in the USB thumb drive. It is a USB 3 hub, so we're getting full 5 gigabits per second. It also has a SD and a micro SD card reader. Unfortunately, that one is only connected with USB 2, so we're not getting very high speeds, but it's better than nothing. Now, apart from Windows 98, you can of course install other operating systems, especially Windows XP. I've done a couple of videos on how to install Windows XP from a thumb drive, but also I do get some comments that it just doesn't work for you. So machines seem to be very picky depending on the BIOS, how they handle booting from USB thumb drives. So in that situation, maybe a USB optical drive is a good investment for you. Many modern cases don't have drive bays anymore, and you might be using a thin client or a machine that simply can't fit a optical drive, so this could come in handy. They are also readily available, brand new. They don't cost too much, and you can still buy the media quite easily in the supermarket, for example. You can also get rewritable discs that you can erase and write again. So that's especially handy if you're trying to build a compilation or a boot disk with certain startup files and you want to experiment without ending up with too much wasted disks. So if booting from a USB thumb drive doesn't work for you, maybe using a USB optical drive is the solution. And I would love to hear from you. What do you think about this method, and what is your method, your process for installing Windows 98? Please share down below in the comments. I will put links to all the resources, the floppy images, and all the software I've used down below in the video description. And also, if you do want to buy these optical drives, you will also find some links down below. I will put 2 videos for you to watch on the screen: how to install Windows XP and Windows 98 off a USB thumb drive. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I shall see you soon with another one.